Yo, welcome to another tutorial, guys, and this time we're working with a portrait image. So we've got another image sent in from Seb here from Germany, and I'll get over it and I'll show you guys his style. So as you can see, a real key to achieving this one is going to be getting those really nice fades in the blacks and shadows, and then obviously a lot of grain, giving a really nice texture to the image. And then as for color, it's quite warm. There's quite a bit of warmth throughout the entire image, and then maybe dropping the clarity for that really nice natural texture. We're working with one of his old images though, coming down. He sent me this a while ago. I'm definitely going to reach out to him to do a few more photos of his more recent stuff, but we're working with this one right here. So we were given this exact photo, and I've actually got the settings here. Okay, so it was shot at 50mm, so that's going to give zero distortion to the face, 2.5 for aperture, so a little bit of a shallow depth of field, but lots of sharpness. Quick shutter speed of 1/1000, really sharp, and there's plenty of light, so no need to keep a low shutter speed, bump it up heaps, and a low ISO of 100 because it's obviously nice and bright. It was shot like I said at 50mm on a prime Sony 50mm 1.8, shot on a Sony 7, I believe. I'll flash that up on screen. Okay, so as you can see, awesome style, guys. I'll put his links down in the description, so you can go give him a follow down there. And yeah, let's get into this, creating a really natural texture, a strong fade, low amount of contrast, and pretty low on the vibrance as well. So yeah, let's get into Lightroom, see what we can do. Okay, to start this edit, I'll just show you guys the cropping. So what we've done is straightened up the horizon there, so you just followed this building and then went 4x5 for Instagram. And if we just go back to where we were, right, so let's get into this one. Let's drop some contrast. Let's get our reference image up. So the main thing going on here is gonna be that fade. You can see how flat those highlights are. So let's just very quickly drop some highlights. For exposure, we're about pretty good. We just need a very little amount of contrast, pretty much is what we've done. So there's before and after, we've just taken out some contrast there. So now the main part of the image is going to be these curves. So let's do that. I'll just whip through them and then I'll explain what I've done when I'm finished. Okay, so that's the curves done, and if I just turn them on and off, you can see what it's doing, and what it's doing is just really flattening the image. So like the background here, we sort of lose the detail in those clouds pretty much, but once we pull down the highlight, the whites here, you can see how that creates that flatness, almost gets rid of all the detail in the background. So if you look down here, you can see maybe a door there or something. And when you drop it down, it pretty much disappears. So we've got a little bit of that going on. And then a little bit, maybe a slight drop of the highlights, maybe keeping it up for a bit of a pop in the highlights, but then flattened in the whites. And then a nice gradual curve here. So the blacks, if you look right in the darkest areas, got a nice fade going on where there's that softness. It's like a haze almost, a real strong fade. and then we've made it nice and gradual, and then we've messed around with this trying to find out where how gradual that curve is. So maybe went for about there, and yeah, there's our before and after. Now I normally do the red, green and blue channels before doing this curve. Is probably the best way to do it, because the red, green and blue, some people say, why do this curve, why do a fade in this curve and then do the opposite in the red, green and blue? Well, if you don't do a curve in the red, green and blue, your only other option to add in contrast is up here, and it just doesn't give you enough control. Like if I put in heaps of contrast up here and a fade in the RGB, you just don't have enough options, because adding contrast up here is different to adding contrast down here. We just want to fade to the overall image, and then the RGB will give us contrast in the image, but then we have so much control here. Like this one doesn't affect any colors. You can just put the fade in wherever you like. Like you don't want to be going through each of these, putting in a fade in each of these ones. And yeah, so you want to add in contrast with the red, green and blue, otherwise you'll get a really flat image. You just don't have enough control, and we only wanted to add flatness to the whites and blacks and shadows anyway. The midtones are staying pretty much the same, so yeah, we don't want to do that in the red, green and blue channels. We want a bit of a pop to the reds. Okay, let's move on. The next major thing in this image is going to be the grain. So let's just chuck in lots of grain here. Let's just drop the roughness a little. Okay, I think we're pretty good there. Let's do some sharpening. You can see we're a bit soft in our one. I'm gonna lift it up quite a bit. And then I might do a little bit of masking, but not too much. Most people bring it up to about 40 or something, but I think this one is kept a bit lower. Like you can see almost individual hair strands have been like sharpened. So I might leave it down around 17. Otherwise, split toning. So I reckon our image is looking a touch blue in the highlights. That we could warm it up just a touch. So in the highlights, I'm just gonna put a greeny yellow, and then just put a little bit in, and that will slightly warm the image, just slightly. It's made our skin tones go a bit too yellow though, but we will play with the HSL now, and we should be able to fine tune. Actually, up here we'll just fine tune all this stuff. So I think we're pretty good up here anyway. So dropping the whites is gonna give a little bit of flatness to the image. So I'm gonna keep it slightly dropped at -7. Bring up the blacks maybe, because we want a flat image. So a few more shadows. Okay, and for clarity, I reckon we could have a little bit of crispiness, so we'll run with that. Okay, so you can see she's a bit yellow. Our shirt is maybe a little bit red. Our jeans are a little purple. Let's go to HSL and sort this out. Let's start with the reds maybe. So I think we should be a little more orange. Maybe oranges affect the reds as well, but we are obviously too yellow in the skin tone. Let's find some yellows. The yellows are sort of like in the brighter parts of the hair. If you look closely, we're quite yellow, if not green in there, so let's go towards the oranges as well. Greens, don't know. Aquas, there's not many in there, but I'll go towards the teals because that's just what most people do. Okay, the blues, so if you look at the jeans, we need to go towards a teal. Quite a while, quite a wee way. And then I think we're good for now. Saturation, so let's make this jersey pop by bringing the saturation, the reds up. Maybe the oranges in her face need to come up. Yellows, so that's on the edge of her hair in the watch. Greens, not many greens. There's actually a tiny bit in the background which looks pretty much gone. I might actually drop that quite a bit. And then the blues, so her jeans, in our one we look a bit too saturated. We'll do that with the aqua, and then we just want to bring the purples and magentas down as well, even though you can't really see them in this image. We'll just bring them down roughly in line with everything else. So luminance for the reds, I'm just going to slightly give a pop to the jersey. I might come in with a brush and work with that as well. Oranges, I'm going to drop just to get some deepness to the skin tones. Like quite bright at the moment. I think we could just deepen that a bit. Gonna actually come in with a brush and brighten our subject. Greens, no greens in that one. Luminance, so we want our pants to stand out a touch more. Okay, quite a bit more. Let's bring that up quite a bit. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I think we're about done getting our colors and stuff like that. I'm gonna grab a brush, and for this tutorial, I've already placed them for you guys. And so I'm just gonna grab maybe this top one up here, and if I tick this little box or press, I think it's O, it will show me where I've already brushed. So pretty much the entire subject. And what I'm going to do is just bring up exposure. And this is just going to make the subject pop off the background a bit more. Just give a bit of extra light on her face and her whole body, making her stand out from the background. Okay, I think that's all we'll do for that. Maybe so this brush here is right on the eye. If we were to look, I just want to add a little bit of clarity to the eye and maybe a touch of exposure, because clarity will add like contrast in and makes it a bit darker. You can't quite see, I need to zoom in, but we'll carry on. Just a bit of clarity just to make it stand out, the sharpness of the eye stand out. And then I just want to brighten the jersey, like make the jersey pop a bit more. So I might just bring up the shadows. Now we're too saturated So let's come up to this area and let's just drop saturation. But maybe keep just a little bit of vibrance. Okay, that's good. Brush. Kind of want to brighten down here. There's a few shadows down here, like her jeans. So I'm just gonna up the exposure here. Yeah. See how that looks. Pretty good, pretty good. I should maybe desaturate those. There's a tiny bit of aquas in the background. Is it aquas? Maybe it's blues. I'll bring blues down slightly. A little less green. Okay, I think we're good. Now, maybe I need to do a radial filter as well. So I got one placed on her face. What I want to do for this is just bring up exposure, so brighten her face. And you just want to watch out when you're lifting exposure, it will take away clarity. I mean, it will take away contrast. So sometimes you need to add in contrast as well if you bring up exposure. Because if you brighten everything, your blacks are gonna look way too flat. So increase the contrast if you do that. Now we've brightened her face a bit and that looks much better. Okay, so once I get really close with my edit, like down here, you can see this is the screenshot of his Instagram because it's got the wee arrow and the dots down there. What I do is just like I click on it here and make it appear on top of my image, and then I'll go back to my image, and because it's appearing right on top of my image, it's very easy to see if there's any differences, and I think we are pretty close there. Pretty happy with that. The before and after, if I hit the slash key there above enter or return. So yeah, that looks really good. And then if I just go right click, copy settings, copy, we've got another image over here, very similar, and I just go paste settings, you get something pretty similar. We just need to work with those skin tones a bit. So if we just maybe dropped exposure, for example, and then we might just need to brighten our subject a bit with a brush. We'll bring up the shadows, highlights, bring down the blacks maybe, drop the contrast. Our reds could maybe come down a bit, but then just a quick brush over top of our subject. Very lightly bringing up exposure. Maybe drop our whites for a bit more flatness. And yeah, get something like that. Before, after, and then if you save that as a preset, it'd be same sort of change by applying them. And that's about it, guys. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you learned something there. I hope to do a few more videos on his style. I'll reach out to him again. So if you guys are interested in a photo editing course, because I don't really go through individual sections of Lightroom, I sort of just go through complete processes. A lot of you guys want me to teach each section. I'm gonna do that in my course along with lots of other things. I'll teach my own personal style over there. I'll have a Facebook group for you guys, so if you're interested in the course, check it out down in the description. It's not complete, but if you get in early, there'll be no one else in the Facebook group. It'll be really easy to get in contact with me, and we'll just try to get your images looking great. Yeah, and you guys are loving the presets. I love the feedback there. Make sure you message me on Instagram how they're transforming your images. And I just want to say, I also do video color grading. A lot of you guys don't know that because I always post photo editing. But I do a lot of video. It's probably my passion more so than photo. But yeah, go over to maartenschrader.com and you can see a lot of that over there. Some great Luts that I know you guys will love. Yeah, that's about all for now. Comment down below who you guys want to see. So it really helps me if you comment people that have great images but not too many followers. That way they'll send me an image and I can do a tutorial on them. Really helps me if you do that. And that's about all, guys. Catch ya in the next one. Cheers.